Hey everybody, Thrash Till Death here. Just wanted to talk to you briefly today about the new Arch Enemy track, Yesterday is Dead and Gone, released as a promotional for their new album Khaos Legions, spelled with a K, that was just released online yesterday. Arch Enemy are one of the few surviving Swedish melodeath bands from the sort of wave of that genre in the mid to late 90s. And that genre's always been sort of an important touchstone for me. One of my first metal albums I ever owned was At the Gates Slaughter of the Soul, sort of the major inspiration for a lot of that genre. And it has been sort of unfortunate for me seeing the way that genre has sort of fallen from grace ever since the early 2000s. A lot of the sort of creative meat of the genre that was going around in Sweden at the time, there was just too much going on too soon. A lot of it just sounded too alike, and so many good creative bands ended up falling from grace, and a lot of the sort of major heavy hitters, In Flames, Soilwork, Arch Enemy, have just become sort of more and more creatively barren as time has gone on. Dark Tranquillity held out for a lot longer, but even them, with their last album, they seem to have been falling into the same sort of creative drought that the other bands have. So Arch Enemy, they, ever since the arrival of Angelo Gosso in their album Wages of Sin in 2001, they've become sort of a gimmick band, I almost think. Angelo Gosso is a perfectly capable vocalist. In fact, once you overlook the sort of gimmick of her being a hot woman who can growl like Satan, she is actually a lot more intense and gets the air of menace across a lot better than a lot of equivalent male vocalists. But it doesn't change the fact that Arch Enemy's songwriting has been consistently sort of just uninspired ever since Wages of Sin 10 years ago. And this is their first album they've released in 4 years, ever since Rise of the Tyrant in 2007. And I'm really hoping it can surprise me. I'm really hoping they do sort of pull out all the stops and sort of that this 4-year gap in albums has actually made a difference. I mean, before that they were just releasing one album every 2 years, regular as clockwork, and I'm hoping that that has changed now, that they'll be able to pull out something a bit more special with this sort of room to breathe. But now this new track that got released on April 1st, Yesterday is Dead and Gone, not the most encouraging sign, I have to say. Arch Enemy, compared to sort of their countrymen like In Flames and Soilwork, have always been a bit more, a bit darker, a bit thrashier, have a bit more of an industrial edge. But even so, a lot of their songwriting has still been just in the doldrums for a long time now, and Yesterday is Dead and Gone, Yesterday is Dead and Gone, has been no different. Just regular intro, verse, chorus, break, solo, chorus, usual song structure. And there's nothing wrong with formulaic song structure as long as the individual components are strong. But it doesn't really do that that well either. The riff, perfectly thrashy, perfectly well performed, but nothing particularly memorable. It's fast but not too fast. It's not particularly dynamic. The chorus, not especially catchy. Leads, got nice smooth harmonic leads going over the top, but at the same time it's nothing I could pick out of a lineup. If there is anything that I could say stands out, it would be the solo. Michael Amott, obviously very talented guitarist with a great pedigree behind him. And his solo work has always been consistently good, very melodic, very harmonic, while still having this sort of shreddy edge to it. But even then, it's nothing that we haven't heard from Arch Enemy time and time again in the past. Michael Amott, I would almost say that in this last decade, a lot of his real creative energies have been going into his other project, The Spiritual Beggars, a very highly underappreciated band, while he just seems to be coasting with Arch Enemy. Angelo Gosso, good vocals, as usual. But, you know, again, nothing we haven't heard from her before, and Arch Enemy really do have to sort of pull together if they want to get out of the doldrums and just release an album that'll actually impress us for a change, rather than just being just another Arch Enemy album. Sort of the best metaphor I can come up for a song like this is like toast. Toast might be made from perfectly well-made bread. It might be perfectly brown, not too burn not too light. It might be able to have just the right texture, melt in your mouth, but at the same time, it's still just fucking toast. You know, it's not going to be a gourmet meal no matter how well you make it. And all the musicianship on this song is perfectly serviceable. It's clear that the musicians know what they're doing, but it just fades into the background. It's nothing that your mind will latch onto. It's nothing that will get your emotions or your blood stirred up. Arch Enemy are almost... I don't want to give the impression that I dislike Arch Enemy. They're almost the exact perfect definition of average, the exact midpoint between torturous and rapturous. But it's just absolutely nothing that my mind can get a hold of, really get behind. I don't love it, I don't hate it, I'm just perfectly indifferent towards it. So, and that is sort of the greatest tragedy of all, considering the pedigree of the musicians involved. I could accept this if this was just sort of some no-name third-tier band, but there are musicians in Arch Enemy who have played with Dismember, with In Flames, with Eucharist, with Merciful Fate, with Candlemass. It's like a who's who of all the best of Scandinavian metal. These guys are hardwired in to the best of the Scandinavian metal scene. And so they need to really be doing better than this. It's sort of sad to see it happen otherwise. I know Michael Amott is talented, but he's just not really giving it his all here. That's just how it seems to me. Anyway, Arch Enemy, I probably give Khaos Legions a listen when it comes out. But I'm really not particularly hopeful for it after hearing this promo track. But hey, 4 years, they could still have room to surprise us. Apparently it's going to be like 16 tracks long, although I'm not sure how many of those are like bonus tracks. So I don't know, maybe they will have a bit more creative room to breathe, maybe they will be able to pull out something to surprise us, but I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, this will probably be my last video for the next week or so. I'm going to be away on holiday for the next week, but I will be getting up straight again after I'm back. So yeah, until then, I'm Thrash to Death, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.